So today I'm continuing my Stephen King short fiction project with my 5th installment of these videos. I'm going to talk about 4 Past Midnight. So in this short fiction project, what I'm doing is I'm rereading all of the short fiction collections by Stephen King and then doing more overviews than reviews, where I'll tell you kind of what's within, give you the number of short stories, novellas, that kind of thing, and then give you an overall summation at the end with just super short reviews about each story in the middle of the video. So 4 Past Midnight was published in 1990. My version is a hardcover by Viking, and I'm pretty sure this is a first edition. This was actually my grandmother's who first got me into reading Stephen King, and when she passed away, I inherited all of her hardcovers. So this is her original version from 1990. And I did read this in the 90s, so this is a reread, but I didn't remember 75% of the stories. So this was published in 1990. The version that I have is 763 pages, and there are no short stories in here, but there are 4 novellas. And the novellas range from, I wrote it down, 154 pages to 246 pages. So some of these are some kind of long novellas. 2 in particular probably could have been published as short novels, but they are in this big collection. So I've already done an overview review of different seasons in this short fiction collection video series. And the different seasons format is the same here. We get 0 short stories and we get 4 novellas. And the big difference, though, is that collection had kind of 4 different kind of subgenres, or at least 3, whereas this one is 4 stories that are definitely in the horror genre. Okay, the middle of this video, I like to do an overview of each of the individual stories. In the short story collections, I only give like 1 sentence or 2 sentences for each story, but in this one I'll give a little bit more so that this isn't just like a 2.5-minute video. But just be advised, with any work of short fiction, I feel that just knowing the premise is a mild spoiler, and as a reviewer that I pride myself in not giving spoilers in my reviews, these are going to be light spoilers only because I'm going to tell you basically what each story is about. So the first story here is the one that I remembered pretty clearly, and it's called The Langoliers. And The Langoliers is the premise of, let's imagine you get on a flight and you fall asleep as you're taking off, and then you wake up and most of the people on the flight are gone. And you have the initial disorientation. Did we land and all these people got off the plane? What's going on? And then you find out that 90% of the people on the flight disappeared. And it goes from there. It had some really great characters, maybe a bit too few, actually the opposite, maybe a bit too many characters in the novella for my taste, because there were a couple that I didn't feel added a whole lot. I feel that King, as much as I enjoyed The Langoliers, I feel that this story should have either been expanded to novel length, where he could have got more into these side characters and delved more into it, or it could have been shortened by about 70 or 80 pages and made it a bit more effective. But it was still very, very good. The horror elements were fantastic. The tension, one of my favorite things about Stephen King is when he ratchets up that tension, and there were kind of 2 aspects of that story, one a supernatural aspect and one a human aspect that just added a whole lot of tension to the story, and it was really, really well done. So when I say that I wish it had been shorter or longer, that doesn't diminish the fact that I really enjoyed The Langoliers. The second story in this collection is called Secret Window, Secret Garden, and this was my favorite in the collection. And the premise is pretty simple. An author answers a knock at the door, and it's a man who's accusing him of plagiarizing one of his stories. And it goes from there. One of the things I really enjoyed in this story is you didn't know as it was unfolding whether this was going to be a supernatural kind of horror or if it's just a humanistic horror, kind of in the vein of something like Misery. So I love the guessing that went along in this one. And the story, just as it evolved and you kind of see what happens, it was my favorite. And it's going to go on my short list of favorites for when I do a big summation video after rereading all of these short collections by Stephen King. But Secret Window, Secret Garden is definitely a new favorite of mine. The third story is called The Library Policeman, and King says in his little foreword that he came up with the idea that as a kid, you were afraid of turning in a library book late because the library policeman was going to come after you. And not the funny library policeman on Seinfeld, but like a nefarious one. But anyway, that's kind of the premise here, but it's an adult who somehow gets his books in late and then has this evil library policeman after him. This is another one that keeps you guessing throughout and was pretty solid. There's one scene in here that was really hard to read, though. I really struggle with reading violence towards children, and there's one here that's depicted, and it's depicted quite graphically, so I had trouble with that one scene, but as a whole, it's a really strong story. I did like the way that it ended, and this was another one that I think if one thing is in common of all four of these novellas, I think King very well could have expanded all of them and made it a big, sprawling novel with just a few changes, but I did enjoy Library Policeman quite a bit. The last story in this collection is called The Sundog, and you have to kind of take yourself back a little bit because this is about a camera, a Polaroid camera, and nowadays, I don't know if even a younger generation knows what that's like, or that there were standalone cameras that had film and all of that, but the premise is the young boy on his birthday, he gets a Sun, that's the brand, Polaroid Sun camera, and starts taking pictures, but when the pictures come out, they're not what he's taking the picture of, but it's these pictures of this dog. And you see as the pictures progress, you see the dog is kind of starting to move towards the camera. It's creepy as can be. And this was not his last Castle Rock story, but his next to last Castle Rock story. And I think that was actually one of the weaknesses of this story. This is the one that really felt bloated to me. This felt like this would have been a great, 40-page short story, but he wanted to wrap Ace Merrill, or is it Ace or Ace's dad? I already forgot. I got the Merrills confused in Castle Rock. But the old man Merrill, he's in the story, and I think he just wanted to expand this, and he would have just been, I thought, more effective as just kind of like a very, very minor secondary character in this story. But as the camera takes more pictures and you see this sundog kind of turn towards the camera and look even worse as it gets closer to the camera, the tension ratcheted up, and it's still a really, really solid story, but probably in my mind the weakest of the four, just because I felt that it was at least twice as long as it could have been. So my summation for 4 Past Midnight, it's really good. It's not on the top tier level of different seasons for a 4-novella collection, but I think it's very, very good. I think if I were giving star ratings, I think all 4 stories are at least 4 stars, but I think of my favorite, which is an all-time favorite now, Secret Window, Secret Garden. I really, really love that one. So my next collection in this Stephen King short fiction project is going to be Nightmares and Dreamscapes, which is the opposite of this one. It's not 4 novellas, it's like 25 or 30 short stories. So that one's going to take a while. I'm not going to start it right away. I do have a couple other short fiction collections that I'm going to be working in first. So this one probably won't happen until early 2026, but this was always meant to be kind of a long-term project of me just revisiting the short fiction of Stephen King, which this project has led me to just reinforce my own thoughts that Stephen King's short fiction is maybe the most underrated aspect of his works, and probably maybe even the best things that he's written is his short fiction. So hey, have you read 4 Past Midnight? Do you agree with my assessment of the 4 novellas within? Do you disagree? Did some of the ones that I thought were maybe not top tier, do you find them top tier? I'd love to talk with you in the comments section below. These Stephen King videos don't get nearly as many views as a lot of other things that I put out on the channel, but I do value the conversations that I have with my fellow constant readers, so drop me a comment below. And if you like this video, please like and subscribe. You can also find me on Twitter, Goodreads, and the Fireside Discord. I'd love to interact with you there. As always, thank you for watching. Until next time, goodbye.